My father had been called out to investigate what I thought was an aircraft accident some distance from here on a ranch close by, and he came back much later one evening, about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, with a car full of debris, like metallic debris. Mm-hmm. And he was very excited about it. He unloaded a good part of this debris into the house here, into the kitchen part, and he woke my mother and myself up to come look at this, because he had no idea what this was. Material that it consisted of was more foil-like, although it was a very strong, very tough material. Material that was not easily malleable, not like tin foil that you just bend back and forth. Parts of it looked like balsa wood type members, but metal like balsa wood. Very light and very strong. And it had a sort of metallic glint to it, like a dull aluminum surface. I guess the most mind-boggling or startling feature was along the inner surface of some of these members was like a writing. Oh. The writing itself was not English numerals or the Greek alphabet or anything of that nature. It looked more like an Egyptian hieroglyphic type writing. The lettering itself was, I recall the color was a purplish violet hue, and it looked like it was embossed inside the inner surface of some of the metallic members, the structural frame itself. Oh. I recall the longest piece I found was about 18 inches in length, and maybe a half inch. It's like an I-beam, about a half inch in circumference or diameter. I think he came to the conclusion that this was probably not anything that was made here, at least on this planet.
Oh. Good morning, Mr. Yaoi. Nice to meet you, sir.
Actually, you've got a lot of people.
先入観を与えないため、ブラーゼル氏が話し終えるまでマセール博士には黙っていてもらうことにした。
I was not out at the ranch at the time, and I picked up an Albuquerque paper, and here's my dad's picture looking at me, and I thought, well, I wonder what he's done now. So I went on to read the article, and I told Shirley, I said, well, I guess I better go out to the ranch, because they said that the Air Force had asked him to stay in Roswell. Anyway, they swore dead to secrecy, and I went out to the ranch and stayed until he got back, and I asked him what he'd got into, and oh, he says, I found a bunch of trash, and so he went on to tell me it was a bunch of sticks, and twine string, he says. And he said on some of these sticks, why, there was, he says, Japanese or Chinese figures, you know. And, of course, he couldn't even start to show me what it was like, you know. And I kept asking him questions, and he said, well, he said, I told the Air Force I wouldn't tell anybody. He said, you're probably better off without knowing. He did show me where he had found this wreckage. And and of course, riding horseback, you see lots of things, you know. So I'd go back through there, and naturally I was kind of looking, and I picked up a few scraps, and that the Army hadn't picked up. And I made them in. I'd bring them in my chaps pocket and put them in a cigar box down at the barn. But the little scraps, I happen to call it the wood, was kind of like balsa wood. Real light, kind of a neutral color. And pieces of string were something like monofilament fishing line. And then the foil, I don't know, like tin foil or lead foil, but you couldn't crease it and make it stay. And I only had one little jagged piece of it. And you bend it over, make a crease, and it'd straighten right back out. And it wouldn't, I don't know, it had to hit with a terrific force because you couldn't cut that wood or the string or the foil. And it wouldn't burn. The wood was real pliable.
Oh.
And, but it wouldn't break. It was something, I don't know, felt like balsa wood, real light, you know. And of course that was kind of before the days of plastic, so it could have been some type of plastic, I don't know. An odd shape, kind of a jagged piece, and the whole area wasn't as large as that ashtray, maybe half that.
Yes.
But it was, well, like you just tear a piece of paper or something, you know. And,
But you couldn't do that. How
so
was
I say it must have hit with a terrific force to have even broken the frame parts or tore this foil, because I couldn't tear it. I didn't really get pliers or anything and try that hard, you know.
Except I didn't try to tear it myself. I just picked it up.
Like I said, I just tried with my fingers, and I didn't tear it.
I know my dad said he tried to tear it and tried to deform it with hammers, but impossible.
And how was the thickness of?
Well, it was pretty thin.
Like what?
Well, like aluminum foil that's used today to wrap frozen material.
Was it the same as?
About the same thing. Yeah.
How was the edge of the balsa-like material?
The edge? Well,
Was it
of course, the ends of the pieces I found were kind of jagged, but the edge of the piece lengthwise was smooth.
Oh, that's the same.
Yeah, to me, it resembled an I-beam, a small I-beam that it was fractured on each end, and it was on the inner surface of that where the writing was located.
Oh, I see.
The longest piece I saw was about 18 inches in length.
I didn't find anything that large. Mine are, maybe 3 inches, probably the longest piece that I found.
Don't you have any question to Mr. Brazel?
Well, it sounds like you and I saw the same thing.
Well,
I'm sure.
well, I'm sure it was.
Stuff in there that looked like had writing or some kind of inscriptions or something on it, but you know, nothing like he had seen. And it seems to me like that he did bring a small piece of it up, but I expect it was hard to. I don't think you could have. The way he talked, you couldn't have tore off a little piece or anything. But the piece of wood-looking stuff was nearly as big as a pencil, and it was kind of I'd say now it looked more like plastic or so, you know, hard plastic or something. Back then we didn't know what plastic was, but you know, it was just looked like some kind of wood. I don't know just what. And then my brother that was in the Air Force at Roswell, that was with the crew that flew it out of Roswell, he said they couldn't see anything because they had it all, you know, had it covered up with tarp. So
what was his name?
Robert Porter.
And he's still living in
Great Falls. Yes. But he was in Roswell at that time in the Air Force down there.
He was part of the crew that flew it in the some of the wreckage in the aircraft over to Fort Worth.
Yes. But he said they didn't know what they had flew out until they was coming back, and then they were told that it was a UFO.
down in a little, like to see how this drops and comes back up? On the other side of that tank, there's another drop like that, and that's where it is.
Nice.
It's about 2 miles out there.
First came across the information that I was privy to see between the years 1970 and 1973, when I was attached to the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet as a member of his intelligence briefing team at his headquarters in Makalapa, Hawaii. The documents in Grudge 13 were the history of downed craft, alien craft that had crashed because the powerful radar that we were experimenting with after World War II somehow interfered with their guidance systems and caused them to crash. Quite a few alien craft crashed, and we were able to recover wreckage and, in some cases, whole craft that appeared not to be damaged, dead alien bodies. I saw photographs of dead alien bodies, of aliens, spacecraft, what people normally would call flying saucers. I saw photographs of live aliens. In 1949, the document stated that a live alien was taken from a crash site, which occurred in 1949 near Roswell, New Mexico. 2 craft had crashed, and they recovered 5 dead bodies and 1 live alien. They designated this live alien EBA, or EBE, which meant extraterrestrial biological entity. And he lived until sometime during 1972 when he died of unknown causes.
Long, very tough material. Material that was not easily malleable, not like tin foil that you could just bend back and forth. Parts of it looked like balsa wood type members, but metal-like bolts. House here into the kitchen part, and he woke my mother and myself up to come look at this because he had no idea what this was. Material that it consisted of was more foil-like, although it was a very strong. 2 o'clock in the morning with a car full of debris, like metallic debris. And he was very excited about it. He unloaded a good part of this debris into the wood. Very light and very strong. And it had a sort of metallic glint to it, like a dull aluminum surface. I guess my father had been called out to investigate what I thought was an aircraft accident some distance from here on a ranch close by, and he came back much later one evening about